All right. Good afternoon or good morning, everybody. Thank you for taking time out of your Thursday afternoon here for our November edition of the assessment workshop. So we're going to sort of tailor two things together here. I know in the past assessment workshops that we have done, the main focus has been interpreting the assessment and doing all of these different things with it. Today, we're sort of going to take everything and put it together, right? So of course, the subject line of today's webinar is going to be maximizing your IdealTraits account. So that's what we're going to focus on. We're going to talk about creating jobs and posting them and really maximizing that effort. We're going to talk about the assessment. We're going to talk about communication with candidates. We're going to talk about workflows to make really your hiring less manual, I suppose, and a number of different things. And we can even get into offer letters and background checks if time, of course, allows it. But over the next really 45 minutes, these are the things that we're going to dive into. So hopefully off of this conversation, you then have one specific thing that you want to focus more on, whether it is creating a job ad or getting more out of your posting or using the assessment more to your advantage, or maybe utilizing the communication devices with candidates to streamline your candidate communication, or using video interviews to really take the fluff out of your hiring instead of scheduling a bunch of interviews with unqualified people. So those are really the things that we're going to focus on, again, over the next really 45 minutes. So again, as you're most likely used to, my name is Noel Duda. I'm the Client Experience Manager for IdealTraits. So for the last 6.5 years, I've been helping businesses with really getting the most out of their IdealTraits accounts. So it is a really good subject matter for today. I'm going to go over essentially, I suppose, like if I was to put a synopsis on it, what I would say is, if I were you and I was looking to get the most out of my IdealTraits account, this is what I would do. Okay. Now, a majority of the things, the benefit here, the majority of the things that we're going to cover is going to be included in your subscriptions today. So for a majority of you, I know that you have maybe 2, 3, or some of you maybe 4 screens that you use as a part of your day-to-day within your respective businesses. I would recommend that you have maybe a second screen pulled up with your IdealTraits account. So then as we go through this at the same time, you're able to implement some of these things and put them into practice rather than having to try to remember them and then try to execute on them or go back to the recording, this and that. So it is important for me to note. So IdealTraits, actually, since our office is in Michigan and since we do have employees scattered all throughout the country, it is less than ideal, I suppose, with a pun being intended there, for us to fly everybody in to do our Christmas party in the state of Michigan, where it's snowing and is probably 0 degrees. So what we've done, especially with that being the case of people being scattered everywhere, is we do some sort of special holiday party. So this year we are going on a cruise. So the cruise leaves tomorrow. Everybody's flying out there to Florida today. I am the one who's cutting it incredibly close, with my flight being tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. out of Detroit to Fort Lauderdale. But I did get an email from Delta stating that they're complying with the federal mandate to lower flights. So hopefully, keep your fingers crossed for me. My flight's at 7 a.m. Hopefully that's not the one that they decide to chop, because then I will not be getting on a cruise ship. But nonetheless, the reason I mention that is because the recording is usually sent out either this afternoon or the next day. The recording for this session will not be sent out until Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. Okay. So that again stresses the importance on why I recommend getting that second screen up, getting your IdealTraits account uploaded. If you've already taken that action on that, great, then you've got it pulled up and we're good to go. And we can get things started. So again, recording for this session available next week. It will not be sent out today or tomorrow due to that special event where IdealTraits is celebrating the work that all of the employees have done over the last year. So nonetheless, let's jump into it. So maximizing your IdealTraits account. Of course, the first step in the hiring process is getting a job ad created and getting it posted. So what I'm going to do here is share my screen. I'm going to share the entire screen so then you guys are able to see everything, but you should be good now. So of course, I'm logged into the IdealTraits account and we're ready to rock and roll. So of course, if you're maybe really new to IdealTraits, you're going to want to log in, and at the top of your screen, you're going to want to click jobs. This will take you to sort of the screen that I'm at here. I have a job ad that I have in draft mode here that's already been created that I did in the past. that we used when we looked to find our most recent 3 hires that we made 2 months ago, excuse me, that just got through training and are in their first month commissionable. So what I can do is usually use this as our serve, but what I think it'll be most beneficial is to create one from scratch. So then you guys can sort of see how this process operates. So a lot of the stuff here on the top is going to be pretty plug and play. I know majority of you are looking for salespeople, so we'll just go down the process of indicating everything that we normally would for a salesperson. Compensation, I want to stop here and sort of talk about this for a bit, because there's a lot of different viewpoints on compensation. Maybe I don't want it on my job ad, or maybe I want to create a very broad range of where it's 50,000 to 200,000. I wouldn't recommend that. You guys all most likely know what your compensation plan consists of, for whether it's a salesperson, a CSR, another type of office employee, whatever it may be. May depend on experience in terms of what you're offering from an hourly compensation or a base, or it might just matter around how much they sell. So here's my general recommendation. You have your compensation plan and you have your expectation of what this person should be producing in their first year. And again, we're going to focus specifically on sales here. So you're going to take that expectation and you're going to take that comp plan, you're going to put them together, and you're going to get a number. So that number may be 55,000, it may be 70, it may be 100,000, who knows, right? But what I would recommend doing, no matter what that number is, whether it's 55, 70, or 100, is then basing your compensation plan off of that and putting a $10,000 bracket on each side. Okay. We don't want to have a big gap, because then the questions is, okay, well, like, what's the difference between, 40,000 and 90, right? If we have that big $50,000 gap. So let's say that, for IdealTraits, all intents and purposes, if someone is meeting my expectation in their first year, they're probably going to make $70,000. Okay. So then I'll put an interval of 60 to 80,000 here, and I'm going to go ahead and indicate per year. Once I do that, this salary type is so you can justify the salary. All right. So your compensation plan is either just a base salary with commission, base salary with no commission, but also bonuses, or a combination of the 3. For sales, it should be this. Okay. Best practices, it should be the combination of the 3, because they're money motivated. There needs to be incentives to push them to do more, et cetera. You guys get that point. Okay. For your customer service, I met with a restoration company earlier today that fell into the base salary plus bonus opportunities segment, to where they didn't necessarily have commission for a technician, but they had bonuses for getting Google reviews, right? So you can get creative with the incentives that you put together, but nonetheless, for your sales folks, let's make sure that we have a combination of the 3, so then we can drive these people to hit those new heights. And of course, they can get compensated for it. And then you guys can capitalize on the renewals, or whatever the next beneficiary business, or the beneficial reason for people renewing in the respective business that you're in. Now, remote, I don't necessarily think there's the best practice here. I think that there are truths. So if you're hiring remotely, you're going to get in front of more candidates. All right. That's just the way that it works. Because you're obviously, instead of just pooling around a 25-mile radius, you're now considering all 50 states, and that is your target area population now. So that's the obvious thing. Okay. Remote is going to get you more candidates. More people are going to apply. You're going to have more options. You're going to have potentially a more diverse candidate pool. You're going to have a more qualified candidate pool. It's just the way that it works. Okay. Now, not all of you can do it, because maybe you don't have the systems in place yet, whatever the situation may be. So what I recommend is, for this purpose, if you feel as if you have the systems and you feel have the capabilities, offering a fully remote position is going to be very advantageous to you in your recruiting. However, it is a different type of management style. It is a different type of being able to support that employee. So just make sure that you're prepared for that. Okay. Now, for those of you that are like, I can't do the remote, great. You have to know you have to establish an expectation for your recruiting pool. I met with an agent last week, and to be honest, I was talking to her probably too transparently about her hiring, but it was something that was needed to be done, because, after 6.5 years, I've heard a lot of different scenarios. So she was in a rural town in the Midwest, and she had told me that there's probably a population of 10 to 12,000 people within a 25-mile radius of her office. And she came to me and said, all right, Nolan, I need a candidate that is licensed in both PNC and life insurance and is going to work in my office every single day. I was like, okay, yeah, those candidates exist. Is there many of them in your area? Probably not. So I told her, I said, well, you're probably going to be taking an employee from an existing agency. And she's like, well, I already know all of those people. And I said, well, then you need to lower your expectation in terms of all these requirements, right? Because she already knows all those folks. So with the cards that she was dealt, is the way that I described it to her. With the cards that you are dealt, your expectation should be that you're most likely going to have to help someone get licensed. So some of you are in that position to where you're in a more rural market, to where there are still really good candidates out there. But do they already come with all these licensings and experiences? Probably not, right? So again, you have to be realistic with the cards that you've been dealt, and that was that situation. So some of you are in a very, very, very populated market, something like Detroit or Atlanta or Minneapolis or Los Angeles, whatever it may be, right? So there are probably more candidates that have those licenses that you're looking for. So again, it's just being realistic with the environment and the posting that you have. Fully remote, you can add on a couple more requirements. If it's in office, just be realistic with what you expect to get out of your hiring process. I think I looked it up, about 2%, or maybe it's even less. I think it might be even less, but at most 2% of Americans have an insurance license of some sort. Okay, so 98% of the candidate pool that's out there doesn't have the license that you're looking for. So again, be realistic with what you expect. So I have no preference towards remote or in office. I think in office is great. I'm the only IdealTraits employee that works in an office every day. So I do see the benefits to it and I do prefer it. So there are good candidates out there who want to work in an office. I guess if you'd consider me in that good candidate bucket. And there also are some really great people that I've been able to find from posting remote. It works both ways. There's pros and cons, just like anything. So just make sure that you have a reasonable expectation when deciding whether your job is remote or not. So your job location should just reflect where your agency is located. So those are some simple things. I probably overcomplicated this part of it when talking about remote, but this is the very simple stuff at the beginning of your job ad. Now, for job title, I see way too many job ad titles that'll be like this: insurance sales representative, untapped commission. Oops, wow, I can't type. Untapped commission, right? It's like, that's unnecessary. Okay. And there's this thing on the job boards, guys, that is search matching. Okay. And it's based off of a percentage. So if I'm on the job boards and I'm posting this type of title that you guys see here, you'll see that there are 5 words that are a part of it. So if someone is just typing in insurance sales representative, then my match of what they're typing in is only about 66%. Pretty low, all things considered, right? Because you're adding in verbiage here that you think is attractive to people, but they're not actually searching for. So the way that the algorithms work on the job boards is they're actually working against you. Okay. So when you're considering your job ad title, keep it simple. A lot of folks are becoming more apt to abbreviating these things, like insurance sales rep, but I'm a big fan of just keeping it simple. If you're looking to diversify and sort of do things a little bit differently, especially if you're considering unlicensed talent, something like a telemarketer can be a good thing that a lot of folks may be looking for. You can do like marketing, so insurance marketing role, something like that, right? But we don't want to get too crazy here. We want to make sure that we keep it simple. So I'm a big fan of just the old traditional insurance sales rep or insurance customer service rep. I'm sorry I don't have more for you here, guys, but I'm not looking to reinvent the wheel for you. My advice is just to keep it simple. And you would hear this from a lot of folks that get a lot of applicants on their job ads. So now we get to the job description, responsibilities, and requirements. We're going to keep it, again, pretty concise here. Now, I'm a big fan of ChatGPT. I use it probably every day. I know there's a lot of other AI resources that are out there and that are popping up every single day. So if you're in an account that enables this AI, I mean, you're probably a step ahead, because as you can see, once I click generate here, it's going to take about 10 to 15 seconds, and it's then going to create the job description, responsibilities, and requirements for me. Now, some of you may not be in a package to where this AI is available, which is okay, because you have things like ChatGPT, or you do have the templates that are available to you. Now, again, I said that I would position this webinar towards what would I do after 6.5 years of only focusing on IdealTraits. If I were you and how to get the most out of it, I would use the AI, right? That is what I would do. So if you have it, use it, read it. You can't just be like, okay, boom, done, 15 seconds, see ya, right? You now have to read this, and you have to make sure it says exactly what you're looking to say. And then also look for opportunities for you to be able to personalize it. No artificial intelligence, no other person knows your agency better than you do. So adding in that personalization is going to give it that good feel that people can actually sort of relate to. And then formatting, right? So doing things like bullet points or adding in italicization or bolding, however you want to do it here, right? But sometimes it can be a little bit long-winded. So making sure that you pay attention to what's included and that you have what's in here. Like for an example, licensing, a valid Michigan property and casualty license is a must. It's pretty strong language, right? So this is something that we can edit here to where we can say a valid Michigan property and casualty license is preferred, right? A little bit softer language. And that leaves us in that ballpark to where, hey, having finding someone with a license is great, but we also will welcome candidates that do not have that license because we understand that we can find somebody that just needs to get an insurance license that can be our next best producer. One of my best friends out of college joined an Allstate agency here in Michigan that's out of Grand Rapids. And he never had sold insurance, never sold anything. And he came back with a good IdealTraits assessment result, started at the agency, and is now one of the top agency producers in the state of Michigan, right? So that's a good story. I'm sure you guys have your own too as well, or maybe even think about your start in insurance and how you came about to that, right? But again, using these tools to your advantage. If you have the AI, great. If you don't, using something like ChatGPT or the IdealTraits templates that are available. Maybe I'll do a second webinar that's more about building a job ad off of these templates. I just feel as if for the 30 minutes that we have left here, this will take up too much time. But you have a good amount of templates in here. And then if you do create one with AI, you can, of course, you can add those templates into here so then you don't have to continue to copy and paste it over and over again, right? But if you want this job ad as sort of a blueprint, I'll leave it up active. So then just send me a note after. And I can send you this link to this job ad. So then, of course, you can take advantage of it if you'd like. Now, benefits. This is where I see, hands down, most business owners sell themselves short because you guys are offering a lot of benefits to your employees that you don't often think about when you're filling this out. Because we often think about, oh, what type of benefits are offered? Oh, I don't offer health insurance. It's like, oh, okay. Health insurance is a good thing to offer, but you're probably offering a lot of other things too as well, right? So PTO, flexible scheduling, we'll click all these insurances, right? Parental leave, hands-on training, Monday through Friday schedule, career growth, retirement plan, right? All these things we offer. But then you can get a little creative here, right? Office snacks and coffee is one that I hear most from agencies. If you're having your employees come into the office, you probably provide that coffee and snacks for them. That is a benefit. Birthdays off, that's a unique one. I don't hear all that often, but being a good one to sort of diversify yourself. And oftentimes, a lot of the agents that I talk to, they're offering team lunches, right? So I'm sure you're doing that as well. Quarterly team building activities, maybe doing some fun games or something to celebrate a holiday. I'm sure this is something that you're doing, right? So we do have a long list here. I mean, this is kind of hidden. So maybe it's a point for IdealTraits for us to make this a little bit known to you guys. But if you click this little eye that's here, it'll open up your ability to click on this link that populates. And then Brandy did a great job of putting together this article that has a lot of additional benefits for you to consider, right? So, I mean, look at this long list. So we talked that same restoration company that I was working with earlier, had talked about how they allow pets at the office, right? So this may be something that you offer that you're not thinking about. So go through this list and don't sell yourself short. Again, if we put ourselves in the perspective or the shoes of the candidate, what they're oftentimes first looking at when they're applying to a new opportunity is, what am I getting paid? Is it remote or not? And then what are the benefits? So if you have a long list of benefits, even if you don't necessarily feel as if they're like the best benefit in the world, having a longer list is going to benefit you because it's going to be more eye-catching and people are going to see it and read it and be like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. I never thought about that before, or I've never seen that before. So the reason I applied is because, you're a pet-friendly office. I think that's really cool, right? So again, it's a way for you to be able to grab the attention of the candidates and for you to be able to gain their interest. So we have our completed job ad here, right? I think when you have the AI carrying a lot of weight for you, makes things a lot easier. But once we, of course, continue on here, and before I get into this, I do want to mention this because I've already forgotten about it like twice. If you guys do have questions as I go through this, please ask them. When I have my screen shared, I'm not able to see the questions yet, but when I come back off of the screen share, I'll be able to get your guys' questions, and then we can go back in and take a look at the specific things that you guys are wondering about. But moving forward, again, use the Q&A section. But moving along, once the job ad's created, we then get to these pre-qualifying questions. Now, a lot of you may have been using this or maybe questioning what this is. The pre-qualifying questions are just questions that candidates are required to answer before submitting their application. Now, you can use, again, AI to generate the questions if you'd like, or I'm a fan of using like 1 to 2 to maybe 3 questions that are super specific to the role. So I do like the templates. You can ask about things like language, or you can ask about experience or education. I don't necessarily require candidates to have a certain level of education, but I do think that, generally speaking, candidates that have, more education typically have a little bit more discipline, usually better. That's not me saying like, don't hire people without education. To my preference, I like seeing candidates that have a high level of education. So I usually throw this question in here. Work environments, since we are a remote office, I do ask them how many years of experience of remote work do they have. And then in terms of willingness to travel, we do go to a lot of trade shows and events and that stuff. I'm sure you guys have seen myself or some of our team at events before. So we do ask that question too as well. So we do have the ability to score these questions. Now I'll take a step back here. When you score these questions, when the candidates apply, you're then going to see a result. So it'll be like 100% or 66% or 33% or 0%, right? That is the percent of the matching for the scoring. So I'm going to ask 3 questions here. And I'm going to say, okay, these are my ideal responses that I would like to see from the candidates. So if they come back with a 100% score, I know that they're authorized to work in the United States. I know that they're able to travel if the job requires of it. And I know that they have at least more than 1 year of experience working remotely before they get to IdealTraits, okay? So those are probably the candidates that I would consider premier, like right from the beginning, where I'm going to reach out to them, or our team's going to reach out to them to get the ball rolling and get the process started, to capture their attention and to continue them on through the process. Now, once I post this job ad, it's then going to let me know if I want to post it publicly or privately. Since I'm just doing this sample for you guys, I'm going to post it privately, which means it's not going to get sent to the job boards, okay? But when I get to this point, actually, I want to go back because I actually do want to post it live. Sorry, excuse me, because I want to go through sponsorship with you guys. So I'll go ahead and, sorry, I'm just redoing this post publicly. I'll just go back through this section of posting it. So now once I see this screen, my job ad is sent to the job boards, and it will then should start receiving applications within the first 24 hours. What I will say is if you post a job ad and you don't see applications start rolling in within like 2 to 3 days, you have a problem, okay? Either your job ad's not reaching the job boards because you're violating some sort of guideline. Maybe you're not competitive for your market, or just not enough people are seeing it. Okay, those are usually the 3 problems that I see. Now, the first thing that I would say, another place where I see business owners sort of missing the mark, is when it comes to social media. I know that this has received a lot of attention lately, especially at the insurance events that I've attended lately. It's all about, how do I get more consistent at social media? How do I make more of an impression? How do I do this? How do I do that? Which is really great. And what I would mention and encourage you to consider is to add these posting capabilities into your IdealTraits. I mean, it doesn't cost you anything. It costs you maybe 3 minutes of time, and you're able to post your job ads to your Facebook, your LinkedIn, or your Twitter. I see most agencies, of course, leaning towards Facebook and LinkedIn before Twitter, but you get the point, right? So again, it's very simple. You click share on Facebook, it's going to pull up your profile. Your job ad is attached. And then the hardest thing that you have to do is write 3 to 4 sentences about how you're looking for your next insurance sales rep. Now, the next thing that I want to point to here is going to be your sponsorship options, okay? Now, there are 3,058 job ads that are posted through IdealTraits as of this morning. 453 of them are sponsored, right? So one thing that I will talk a great deal about is ad sponsorship, because again, from the viewpoint of if I was you guys, the first thing that I would do is I would sponsor my job ad. Now, you may be getting a ton of applicants already because, of course, we have this platinum partnership with Indeed, which is great. And then, obviously ZipRecruiter and all these other job boards that you're getting featured on. But sponsorship is just a way for you to reach more candidates faster. All right. So this is sort of an interesting conversation because a lot of folks consider this like paying more for their IdealTraits account. When you sponsor your job ad, the funds that you're paying go directly to the job boards. They go directly to Indeed, or they go directly to ZipRecruiter. And the way that you should consider this is if you were to post a a social media ad to Facebook and you wanted to pay to promote it, or if you were to do Google keywords and you wanted to pay to get higher up on the search engine, this is the same thing. Okay, so you can consider it a marketing fund that you're using to support your job ad. All right, so you have what you pay for IdealTraits, and then I recommend having like another budget that you have that is in addition to your IdealTraits account that you would use to then sponsor your ad to help promote it. Now I'm talking about, again, maximizing your IdealTraits account. So you could be like, well, Nolan, geez, this seems like I shouldn't have to do this. I'm not saying you have to. It's an optional thing. And again, 2,700 people have their job ad posted through IdealTraits and are not sponsoring. And some of you are most likely a part of either one of those groups. But when you go through this process, you have Indeed or you have ZipRecruiter. Indeed requires a minimum budget of $50. And then ZipRecruiter is a flat rate of $2.99 for 30 days. I see more agents and more businesses gravitate towards Indeed just because of their flexibility. All right. So the good news is if you've never opened an Indeed account before, and maybe you've never sponsored, there is an incentive. Indeed is gracious enough to offer you a $100 credit to use towards sponsorship. So I'm going to put this in the chat once we come back. And again, if you've never created an Indeed account before and you're like, yeah, I want to give sponsorship a try, but I'm not really sure how to get started. Great. You can use this steps in this article that, again, Brandy has put together. Does such a great job. You're able to use the steps in this article to then receive that $100 credit to use towards sponsorship. So then you can sort of get your feet wet with sponsoring to make sure, again, that you're able to take advantage of that. Now, putting aside, I'm going to show you how this works because my Indeed account is connected. Now, when we go through this process, sponsor on Indeed, you can see that I can set up a campaign of either 30 days or 15 days. And then I can set the recommended budget, which just seems like a ridiculous number, right? The 832. But you don't, the thing is, a lot of people get gun shy about this number. You don't have to do 832 because, again, the minimum that you have to do is 50, and then you can do just a custom amount. So I can do, let's say, 150. I can create the campaign, and then it's going to let me know that I can expect to receive 20 applicants over the next 30 days. Okay. Now you can set this as a recurring budget. You can set it as a 15-day budget, and the numbers are going to differ. But again, you can start with $50. You can start with 150. You can do as much or as little as you'd like. But again, this is a really good thing for you to do to just get some more applicants in your funnel, which can help you just sort of getting the ball started and finding your next best person. So, if I were to tell you from an insurance standpoint, if you invested $150 into your job ad and you were able to hire one person that's able to write 20 items a month for you, would that be a worthwhile investment? I would think that 99.9 of you would say yes, right? So I know that recruiting has a couple of different costs to it, time, money, resources, but that's what IdealTraits is here to help you with. You make the investment into your hiring process, and then you use the other tools within IdealTraits to help generate, of course, that positive return. But working with people isn't a foolproof business, right? So again, now we've got the job ad posted. We've got it on social media. Again, that would be one of the first things I do. And then I would consider sponsoring my job ad. So those are some things that you can do sort of right off the bat to help you with really what is the first 25% of your hiring process, because just getting in front of candidates is, again, that initial stage, because then you have the harder part, which is the next 75, which is communicating, scheduling interviews, identifying who's the best fit for you, et cetera, right? So this is where I'm going to go back and I'm going to switch accounts here at this point and go back into, I'm going to go into the demo account that we have for IdealTraits because I don't have any live candidates in there right now for you guys to take a look at. But while I'm logging into here, if you have questions, throw them in the Q&A. I'll come back to you in like 10 minutes and we'll be able to go through this all together. So as you can see, I've got our sales demo account pulled up now, right? So a lot of new things that are happening in here. This is what my sales and retention folks use when they do live demonstrations with all of you. So something that is cool now within the IdealTraits account is the AI resume match. This is a new tool as of, I think, a couple weeks ago. So if you don't see this on your main candidate screen, I would recommend pushing this button right here and then clicking this check mark for the AI resume match. As you can see, as I uncheck it, it goes away. And when I check it, it shows up, right? So this is a really cool thing that we're going to go over as I've been reviewing candidates over the last couple of weeks and months as we've been testing this out. It is something that I've leaned on incredibly heavily, and I would recommend that you do so too. But the first thing that I want to talk about is the stages, sort of an underrated part of the IdealTraits process. So as you all are familiar with, when you post a job ad and candidates begin to apply, they're all loaded into this assessment category at first. Once they complete the assessment, they're then automatically loaded either into assessment complete, or if they never complete the assessment, they stay in assessment. Now, what I see too many agencies or businesses do is that they leave candidates in either the assessment or the assessment complete category, and they don't move them throughout the stages. Now, the way that the job boards work with their connection to IdealTraits is they have something specifically Indeed that is called the disposition sync. So as you're interviewing candidates, move them throughout the stages to phone screen, interview, offer, hired, because then Indeed is being sent back. Oh, hey, okay, Nolan is hiring candidates that are like this. Let's help Nolan get in front of more candidates like this. Okay. Indeed and all the other job boards, they are candidate-based websites. So they're going to send candidates to employers that they believe are most likely to hire them and respond to the candidates in ample amount of time and stay engaged in their process and don't just leave people hanging. Okay. It's very easy for you to be able to send people to get them. Okay? All you simply have to do is move people to the archive, and there is an option there for you to be able to send candidates, again, a rejection email for you to be able to correspond with them. But again, I don't want to muddy the waters here. The stages section, it is important that you move candidates through the stages, okay? Because then that disposition sync is going to work for you rather than against you. Now, when we take a look at a completed candidate profile, we'll go here to our offer stage with Reg, because we'll take a look at the offer too as well. So when I pull up Reg, it's actually her anniversary today with IdealTraits, which she's the best. Very lucky to have her on the team. She lives in Illinois. I would never have been able to hire her without offering a remote position. But nonetheless, when we open up the candidate profile, you have a couple of things here that are probably good for you to use, but are up to your own respective opinion. One of them is the star rating. I use it. I don't necessarily have a thorough system for the way that I would, but I do use it. But it's not necessarily like this person's this person's that because of this and because of that. I sort of just, hey, I like this person. Let's give them 3 stars, right? So use this if you'd like. It just helps the candidates grab my attention quicker, all right? Now, on the main screen, you have your resume, and then you have really all of your communication devices here on the left. So actually, I want to take a step back. So we're going to exit the candidate profile because, again, if I were you all, the first thing that I would do is I would set up an automated workflow. So what you're going to want to do is go to the settings in the top right-hand corner, and then kind of down here to just below half, you're going to see automated workflows. When you click on this, you should have some samples that are in there for you to take a look at, but then you're also going to be able to create new ones. So we'll go ahead and create a brand new one just so you guys can see what this looks like. So I'll label this assessment workshop sample, and then we have our triggers. Okay. So the automated workflows is going to take manual tasks off of your plate. A lot of agencies that we work with will tell us, or businesses in general will say, I just don't have the time to do the recruiting. It just takes so much time and all this stuff. And that is true. I totally agree with you. When I have to start hiring, it is a tumultuous process. There are a lot of things that are baked into it because there's just so much that needs to be done. So make that process easier for you. Use automated workflows. So let's say that when a new candidate applies, okay, we're going to go from the beginning stages, and we're going to add a filter, and we're going to say, we're going to do it by position. And of course, we just created that sales representative one. Perfect. And then we're going to add an action, which is going to be send a text message. All right. So what's happening now, right, guys, is when a new candidate applies to your job and they've applied to the sales representative job specifically, they are then going to automatically receive a text message from you after they apply. And you can even add a delay in here if you'd like. So then, I've had some agents give me feedback where they're like, well, that seems like it's a robot. It's perfect. Add a 30-minute delay. You can do that as a part of the process too. But you can add these conversation starters that are really helpful because then you don't have to worry about typos or adding in anything, right? So you can do something like this, right? Where it's like, hey, Nolan, we'd love to discuss your application for the sales representative at IdealTraits. Further, are you available for a chat this week? Candidate's going to text back and say yes, then you can proactively call that person. Now, you can add other filters around this too as well to make it to where it's not just so vague. This is one that we'd used earlier, again, with that restoration company. We said, thank you for applying with IdealTraits Incorporated. Please check your email and complete the assessment to finalize your application. We did use this one, and then we did add in a line at the end that was like, once your assessment is complete, we will be in touch shortly after. All right. So this is a way, and then we can activate this, I suppose, for now. So here's sort of the summary of what we've created. And again, if I were you, this is exactly what I would do, because this is going to take a lot of the burden of time off of your plate, because then as soon as the candidates apply, they're receiving some type of communication from you, which makes them more likely to complete the assessment. The more candidates that complete the assessment, the more options you have to choose from, right? So again, when a new candidate applies and they've applied specifically to the sales representative role, the system is going to send a text message, excuse me, sorry, I'm going too fast, that says, thank you for applying with IdealTraits Incorporated. Please check your email and complete the assessment to finalize your application. Once your assessment is complete, we will be in touch with you shortly after. So you can set up these workflows for a number of different things. Depending on which package that you're in, you may be able to create 1 workflow or 3 workflows or 5, but you can always upgrade your plan too as well. All right. So if you want to be able to create more workflows, let us know. You can either upgrade for that in your account, or we can help you, of course, upgrade it. But being able to create more workflows just takes the time off of your plate. So then you're able to, again, have candidate communication go out, but not having to manually do it yourself. And then the question may be like, oh, well, where do the responses go to? If you go to the SMS tab at the top, you'll see all new messages that come in directly from here. And then you can text any of these candidates. So for instance, I could text any of these folks right now, and then you're able to, of course, get in contact with them and then be able to send everything back. All right. So texting directly through your IdealTraits account, super convenient, super easy. And a lot of you may not be incorporating texting into your process today. And I would come back to you and say, if I were to send you a text and an email right now, which one are you going to look at first? Probably the text message. But some of you may say email. And the other, like 50% of you may say text message, 50% of you may say email. That's the important part. Hopefully you see the vision now. It's like you're missing out on 50% of the candidates who would prefer a text message, or the other 50 that would prefer an email, lowering your chances of getting in touch with the candidates, right? So diversify your communication, make sure that you're communicating with the candidates on what works best for them and going about that process. But the automated workflows, I mean, my hiring processes, we got a lot easier when utilizing those features, because it, again, has those things happen automatically instead of me having to come into my account and spend 3 hours texting and calling candidates that are never either going to call me back or never complete the assessment or what have you. All right. So use that tool to your advantage. It's super powerful, and in my opinion, is the most underrated tool within IdealTraits. So let's go ahead and open Reg's profile again. Sorry, I had to backtrack there. But the first thing that you should really take a look at is your AI resume match. Okay. This is live in every profile now, or in every IdealTraits account now. So you should have it for candidates that have begun applying. And you're able to see that Reg, with her fake resume here, Anita Joe, Reg is a 45% match for the office manager role. So if I look up this analysis, I'm then able to see the resume evaluation, the strengths of Reg, the potential gaps, and just an overall understanding of sort of a synopsis of her resume, her profile. Okay. This is also going to provide you with follow-up questions. Okay. So a lot of you come to us asking for interview questions and how do I do this and what should I ask here and who should I ask this? And it's all based off of personality, right? Because that's what really you're going off of, is the IdealTraits personality. But then you're also able to ask questions now that we're creating for you based off of their resume and their qualifications. Okay. So use this to your advantage. It's such a powerful tool. And if you're looking to really get a quick understanding of whether or not the person meets the requirements that you're looking for, this percentage match is really going to help you consolidate your recruiting to focus on those specific candidates. Now, for the pre-qualifying questions, here's the score, right? 40 out of 50, 80%. Here's the answers. And then you have the personality portion, okay? So you have the 3-paragraph summary, and then you have the performance index. So as we've talked about several times in our assessment workshop, what we're going to pay most attention to is the under pressure. If you're hiring for a salesperson, you're going to want high motivation and drive, or high persuasive and convincing, or both to be high, okay? If you're looking for customer service, if you're looking for someone to be incredibly detail-oriented, you're looking for high numbers in the structure and routine and thorough and compliance. Or if you want somebody who's a little bit more personable, you're looking for high numbers here in the middle too, okay? Structure and routine and persuasive and convincing. Now, you do have the interpretation that helps you a little bit with like a brief overview of what you're looking at. But when in doubt, reach out to us if you have some questions about the particular assessment result. In most cases, if you're looking to hire a salesperson, lean on the high motivation and drive, 60 and above. Okay, that's what we're looking for. And when it comes to customer support, structure and routine probably needs to be pretty high, 60 or above, and generally to thorough compliance, you want it to be kind of high. okay? Because you want these folks to be structured, they understand process, they're reliable, and they're proficient at their job, right? Those are the two things that we're looking to accomplish there. So when you're looking at the assessment, you're looking to tackle that, stick to those like little key hints in that type of situation. But when it comes to the assessment, I don't see enough people using the learn more option. A lot of you are most likely visual learners. And if you could benefit immensely from just watching this 2-minute video that IdealTraits has put together, I think it's 2 or 3 minutes, to where you, of course, will just get more insight into the planner personality. Monica's the one that does it. She's a expert when it comes to all things IdealTraits. So being able to take a look at this video, review it. And then, of course, if you're more of a reader or a self-sufficient individual, you have this article that gives you more insight too as well. But again, if you're looking for like an understanding of the sales personalities, you've got sales leader, salesperson, closer, competitor with high motivation and drive. And then you have, of course, the IdealTraits is best, which is the persistent. All right. So you've got those options. Lean on this too as well. Usually if you get a score that's below 8 out of 15, I would ask questions. Okay. Ask questions, because critical thinking, problem solving, being able to sufficiently be independent in solving problems is key. So I look at the problem solving very carefully, especially if I have a low number there, and I explicitly ask questions about it in the first interview that I have with them, if, of course, I like everything else that I've seen. Short answer, open-ended questions for you to be able to find out more about the candidate. Don't overcomplicate it here. If you see like one-word answers, they're probably just blasting through the assessment as fast as they can. If they're giving thoughtful answers, great. Take a look at their punctuation and their grammar, especially if it's a job that's going to provide a lot of email communication or things of that nature. Now, the video interview. You have a lot of cool things in the video interview, like this overall score that's generated by AI, but then also your ability to see and hear the candidate and be able to answer and have them answer up to 5 questions. So you can fully customize the video interview. You can ask 5 questions, you can ask 3, you can ask 1, however many you want to do. You can set the minimum time that they have to answer as well as the maximum amount of time they have to answer, and then how many retakes they get. So I talked about the automated workflow significantly cutting down how much my hiring process is doing, and I've heard it from so many agents too as well. But for you guys, the video interview is also going to take you that next step as well. Because I know for those of you that aren't using the video interview, most likely one of the largest pain points that you have in your hiring process today is 1, unqualified candidates, and 2, candidates just not showing up. Okay. So the video interviewing feature is convenient. All right. You have the ability to review the video interview whenever you would like, early in the morning, on your lunch break, in the evening, whenever you would like. And then also the same thing is true for the candidates. Okay. The candidate that you want, your most desirable candidate today, has a job. So it is important for you to be able to reach them, right? And allow them the flexibility to complete the interview in the morning or on their lunch break or in the evening. All right. So it is a more flexible way of interviewing. Is it the same as conducting a Zoom interview or a in-person interview? No. And I'm not telling you that you should abolish that out of your process. But what I'm telling you is maybe replace a phone screen with this part of the process, to where you give them the convenience to complete it on their own time. And you let them know that, and you make it convenient because they can do it on their mobile device. They can do it on their laptop, their computer at home, whatever they want to do. All right. But again, hopefully you get the gist here. I am sharing my entire screen, so you guys aren't able to hear it, but you're able to see Reg. You would be able to hear her too as well. And then we do have AI that transcribes the response for you too as well, and then also gives a synopsis of how they did. So a really good way for you to be able to sort through junk, all right, if you will. But anyways, being able to see the candidate, hear the candidate, know what they bring to the table allows you to just focus your attention on the candidates that you actually want to interview. Too many times I'll hear about, I interviewed with 10 candidates last week and maybe only 2 of them were qualified. Happens all too often. Make your life easier. Use the video interviewing tool and communicate with the candidate. Okay. If you just send them a video interview, they're not going to know what you're talking about. So you have to send them a text message or an email letting them know this is the next step, and for them to complete it, so then they feel as if you're communicating with them throughout the process. I believe the research showed that like 65% of candidates feel as if their time is disrespected during an interview process. So with that, how can you be the employer that's stepping outside of that norm to be able to provide more resources and to provide more reassurance to these candidates? All right. So something to think about there. Video interviewing, super key. So maximizing your account. Again, a lot of you are already in packages to where all of these things are available. You have the AI, you have the texting, you have the video interviewing, you have the automated workflows. You're just not using them, right? And if you want to use any specific tool that maybe you don't have access to, let me know. Shoot me an email. I'll give you a 30-day free trial on that specific tool, whether it's workflows or it's texting or it's video interviewing. At the end of the day, we're here to help you with your hiring. All these tools are going to make you way easier. But at the end of the day, IdealTraits is just a tool. So if I were to give you a shovel, it's not as if just because you have a shovel that there's then going to be a hole that appears, right? You have to dig the hole. So IdealTraits is here to help you. I, of course, had mentioned things like ad sponsorship. So a lot of different instances that are probably here on this webinar today. Some people aren't getting enough candidates. Some people are getting too many unqualified candidates. And some people just can't get their hiring process off the ground because it's taking too much of their time. So sponsorship is good if you're not getting off the ground. Texting, automated workflows, video interviewing is a really good way for you to be able to sort through unqualified candidates, and of course helps you with get your hiring off the ground. So we do also have Pulse too as well, guys, which is a great retention tool, right? So check that out. It's in all of your accounts. If you click the employee section here at the top, check that out. It's a really good tool because if you hire a bunch of good people, that's one thing, but keeping them is another. All right. So I would love to get more into that, but I know that we're already at 2:46. And I want to check back to see if you guys have any questions. So I'm going to go ahead and unshare here. We'll get to your questions now, if there are any, which there isn't. Oh, sorry, there's 4. Okay, here we go. When you're able to, can you please send this job listing in order to reference it as an example? Yes, Juan, I can do that. Let me go back and mark it as a private job ad so then I can keep it up for you guys, which will be good. I got to go back into the other account. All right, I will do that while we're talking here, and then I will get it to you guys. So think of other questions. We've got about 13 minutes left, and I can be rather quick with answering questions. So fire them in there before we end so that I can make sure that I get them answered for you while I turn this job ad back to private. Oh, okay, I can't do that. Taking a little bit longer than expected. Sorry, give me 1 second. Great question, though. I'm glad you asked it because I would have forgot about posting it privately. Nonetheless, all right, I'll get that done. That's the next question. We have 2 offices, and they are less than 25 miles apart. I was told that the job posting process won't allow me to enter a second location within that radius. So, Ken, that's a good question. So I'd like to understand a little bit more about how far apart they are. If they're only like 5 to 10 miles or 15 miles apart, then you're probably okay with just posting under the one location, but you should be able to edit the target area population. So like if you have 2 different zip codes. So for instance, like Lake Orion, where the office is, our zip code is 48362, but my house, where I also live in Lake Orion, like 10 minutes away, is 48359. So a different zip code, but they're both under a 25-mile radius. You should be able to just edit that target area population. Now, if you're outside a 25-mile radius, you're going to want to be careful there because then Indeed might flag you. So if you're listening to this and like, oh, I'm going to go post in a zip code 50 miles away. If you don't have an office location there, Indeed's going to flag you. So be careful because then you're in Indeed jail. So Ken, hopefully that answers your question. If it doesn't, reach out to me. I can help you some more. Is the assessment automatically emailed to them after they apply? Teresa, yes. So the assessment does get automatically sent as long as you have the box checked. And then in addition to that too as well, we do send out 3 reminder emails too. So they will get an email for 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours. Okay. So they initially get redirected to it. And if you've never applied to your IdealTraits job ad, I recommend that you do. So then you can sort of see what the candidates go through as they go through that process. But yes, they are going to receive an email notification or they're going to be redirected to it immediately. And then they're going to receive 3 emails if they don't complete it on the spot. All right. So sorry, I'm just getting around to getting this job ad posted privately, which is kind of bouncing around a little bit. All right, cool. Let's go to the next question. Do you suggest sending that first communication via text and email? Good question. Yeah, I think that sending both isn't going to hurt. There's a really good pre-qualifying question too as well, guys. That is, how do you prefer to be communicated with? I should have shown that. I'm sorry. But when you do the pre-qualifying questions, I think it is availability in the templates. So the pre-qualifying questions and go to the templates. There is a question for what is your preferred contact method? And then they can select email, phone, or text. And then you can tailor your recruiting or like your communication process around what they select. So another good question there. But yeah, you should be calling, emailing, and texting. And you can set up a workflow to that point, Teresa. You can set up a workflow to have a text message and an email be sent out. So then you can have that happening without having to manually execute it, because you might be like, oh man, I got to do all this. It's like, no, you don't. You can have the system do it for you, right? Which is what workflows is for, which is why we created it. And that initially came in feedback from you guys. All right. Is there a way to say fully remote, but target specific states? I am set up for employees in 3 states only so far. So unfortunately, no. And that's a job board standard, Corinne, because what they would say is, and again, you have a unique situation to where you're only licensed in those 3 states, which is why you would need to recruit in those 3 states. So then Indeed would give you pushback, or ZipRecruiter would give you pushback, and they would say, well, Corinne, if you're hiring people in Texas, but your office is in Florida, why can't someone work in North Dakota? It's like, well, I'm not licensed in North Dakota, right? So it makes sense to you and I and a lot of other folks that are on this call. But unfortunately, we don't make those guidelines. So no, if you post a remote job ad, you are not able to target specific states. You can indicate maybe in the job ad. I don't know this for sure. So you might want to check with our team, because I don't want to lead you down a bad path. But you might be able to indicate in the job ad that you're looking for candidates who reside in, Michigan, Ohio, and Indiana, or whatever the 3 states you have a license in. And, that might help, consolidate the search and make it a little bit more specific. Or you can go the route of maybe posting a job ad in a specific location and sponsoring it, and then seeing if you can get candidates like in that specific state, in that specific area. Again, I don't know if those things violate guidelines, so be careful there. All right. So reach out and ask us questions before. Our support team will be able to answer that pretty easily. But those are some ideas of what I would do and think about in your position. All right, Robert. Hey, good to hear from you, my friend. I'll see you in a couple weeks. Would you call people who haven't responded to the assessment, email or text? It depends. You've already emailed and texted them. So you've sent them correspondence, and the email reminders, of course, have been sent to them. So it depends. If you're super interested in the candidate, I would say, yeah. If they have a lot of requirements and a lot of qualifications, I think that if we look back like 5 or 6 years ago, we were fortunate enough, for the most part, to be able to like have candidates need to reach out to us, and they need to do this and they need to do that. But the recruiting, especially in the insurance industry, has taken a drastic change to where now it's to the point where it's like, man, we got to try to catch the attention of the candidate, right? A candidate-based market. And we're starting to see it kind of change back a little bit, but we're still in that candidate-driven market. So what I would recommend is that if you have a candidate that has all the qualifications and you desire them, you need to go get them. That would be my general advice there. So calling, emailing, texting, make it happen. Try to get in touch with them any way that you can. It's the same thing that you would do with a lead, right? So like if I were to give, if I was Smart Financial and I was giving you advice on the leads, if I told you that I would talk to an agency that was purchasing leads from me and was only calling them 1 time or 2 times and giving up on them, you'd be like, that's insane. So the same thing should be held true with your recruiting leads, right? Call them a couple of times. Don't waste your time, but reach out to them, work to get in touch with them, and go after the candidates that you want. So yeah, that's what I would recommend. All right. Hopefully that answers your question, Robert. Again, I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Juan, so in regards to some salary type, I don't see it when trying to make a job ad. Is it under something specific? So where it states salary and commission, okay, yeah. So you got to put in your compensation first, Juan. And if it's still not working, maybe refresh your screen and then try again. But once you put in the compensation, so you'll put like 50 to 70,000, and then to the right of that, it'll have the type per year, per day, per hour, etc. Once you select per year, you then should see the drop down. All right. And if you don't, let me know, because you got an error inside your account there. All right. So a couple of things that I mentioned to you guys, those are all the questions that we have as of right now. We still got 5 minutes left, guys. So if you have questions, there's 23 of you in here still, right? So if you have questions, there's a good chance that someone else does too as well. So ask that question. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to answer it. All right. So here's the $100 credit for Indeed for first-time users. Okay. I'm going to put that in here for you, first-time users. There you go. All right, there's that $100 credit link. So follow the steps in the article. They are pretty stringent about the steps, so be careful and make sure you follow the process. I do have the job ad here for you. Insurance sales rep. Here it is. Copy URL. Perfect. Here is the sample job ad that we created with the AI and the benefits, right? If you guys want to take a look at that. I posted it privately within this sample IdealTraits account, so should be live for the next couple of days, but go in there and capture it. Again, it's just a blueprint, right? So you can't just use it blindly, or all of your guys' job ads are going to look the same, which is no good. All right, so take it, make some edits, do what you got to do. All right, next is my contact information here. All right, so I got you with my phone number, 1075 nolan@idealtraits.com. Bingo. All right, there's my contact info. And then the last thing I want to share with you guys, of course, if you've attended our webinars, that's fantastic. The next one this month will be the Success Spotlight. So here is, you guys get the first crack at it, November Success Spotlight. All right. And there's the registration link for that. So we're going to do things a little bit differently in the month of November for Success Spotlight. We have a mental health expert coming to talk about providing mental health resources to employees and making sure that you provide, obviously a healthy work environment, and how obviously we can, focus on retaining employees. So for the existence of the last 22 Success Spotlights that we've done, we focused all of our attention on hiring good qualified people. Now we're going to talk about retaining and providing resources and making sure that they feel supported while at work. So mental health, of course, has been a large topic within really the world over the last couple of years. So we're happy to have Brennan Core is his name, good friend of mine. And I'm excited to have him join the program and have a really good, really powerful session, because I'm sure he'll share a little bit about his life experience too as well, which is a really touching story that I think you all will find value in hearing. All right. So at this point, we've run out of time and we don't have any additional questions. So click on those links, take advantage of those things. If you ever feel the need to provide any referrals to IdealTraits, provide us with a Google review. Same way you guys operate your businesses, those help us out tremendously. So again, I've been doing this for 6.5 years. These are the type of things that I love doing. All right. So if you're getting value from them, I would appreciate hearing your feedback. I did put my contact information there in the chat. So give me a call, shoot me an email. I'm here to help you guys. I appreciate you always attending and taking time out of your day, and register for that Success Spotlight in November, because it's going to be a good one. All right. Have a good Thanksgiving, everybody. If I don't talk to you until then, happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving, happy everything. And I'll talk to you here in a couple of weeks on Success Spotlight. All right. See you.